channel viewer Terry Brown is asking about a birth date, November 27th, which would be the same as that of degenerate Steve Bannon, and the fact that I mentioned 2023 being a difficult year on that account. Does this mean that everyone born on that day or around that day would find 2023 difficult as a result? And the answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that when Saturn is going through those degrees, meaning the early Pisces degrees, it squares the early Sagittarius degrees. And Saturn does challenge. And I would have to admit that it's pretty difficult to go through a year like that and not experience some problems, potentially some setbacks. But almost always, they're the kinds of problems and setbacks that are quite workable. And indeed, they're necessary, because to the extent that you understand that life is a process of change and evolution, we're always trying to move forward to the next level, the Saturn squares and oppositions and conjunctions tend to be the most important in moving that process forward. That is when you do the kind of work that moves your physical, spiritual, material life forward. There is no other way. However, when it comes to a degenerate like Steve Bannon, you're in a sense looking at what he's doing, the direction of his life, what people call karma. And so, given the fact that only a few months away from that cycle beginning, you can pretty much guess that it's going to get very sticky for him, because when you talk about problems, if they're the kind of problems that you've generated and then become serious issues, then things could go really wrong. So like, in other words, if you in 2023 are arrested for robbing a bank, it's because you robbed a bank, presumably. Or in his case, because he's stolen from people with that wall project and any other number of things that he's done, including being a participant in that insurrection. So the point being, it depends on what you've done. It depends on where you are in your life. You also have to gauge what part of the chart is the Saturn affecting during its travel, as well as the planets that it's hitting. And keep something else in mind. There is a time out there for Bannon that sounds suspiciously true. I don't think it's verified, but it looks pretty good based on his appearance. There's a 9:30 p.m. time that gives him Leo rising. If so, he has the moon in early Virgo. Now you've got two planets getting Saturn action at the same time, the sun and the moon. That's a lot of pressure. It increases the Saturn pressure. Now, even then, if a person has sun in Sagittarius early, moon in Virgo early, or for that matter, moon in Pisces early, or moon in Gemini early, which would cause the same effect, even so, a period of Saturn challenging that can be extremely fruitful in terms of moving forward, and there's really no problem. And the other thing is, there's something very magical about knowing that a Saturn cycle is happening. When you know, immediately you frame it within a time period, you know how long it'll last, and it immediately makes things easier. I've experienced this in my life numerous times. And it's not just because I say, oh, things are awful now and I'm waiting for this to be over as soon as possible. No, it's different than that. It actually allows for aligning with the necessary work, getting things done, and basically improving one's life through that process. All right, I hope that helps. And all of that said, I still say that for Steve Bannon, this particular transit of Saturn in 2023 is very likely to be extremely problematic.